On the Sports Shorts Daily, Ronnie Rants alongside Tommy Christ and TK joining us on this Monday morning edition from Court Street Cafe in Port Allen. I'm coming to you from the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. And today we're presented by LaBerge. And we're going to talk about LSU football. The Tigers went up to Arkansas, escaped with a 13-10 win over the Razorbacks, did not cover, which has everybody a little grumpy, including myself and Tommy. The Tigers and took care of business, won the West. They celebrated on the plane on the way home. They got the news when Alabama knocked off Mississippi. Alabama didn't cover, by the way, against Ole Miss, but Alabama won. That means LSU's headed to Georgia, making the last two games sort of irrelevant for the Tigers, other than the fact that they want to get kind of cranked up in hopes that they can maybe upset and shock the world against Georgia. Also, the New Orleans Saints, officially their season's not over with, but it's so bad. It's just so bad. They were down 10-0. They came back, tied it up. You thought maybe, and then they lose 20-10. The offense was atrocious. We'll dive into that. Believe it or not, the Saints are favored this week against the Rams coming up on Sunday. Tommy will tell you why. Also, LSU baseball. I expect that they will be a top 3 team in the country, preseason top 3 team in America when the polls come out. Kendall Rogers, who's Mr. College Baseball, covers college baseball, was at the doubleheader yesterday in Lafayette. I was there as well. I'll give you my take on a few things on LSU baseball against the Raging Cajuns. By the way, a Raging Cajuns team that went to Tulane and won their doubleheader, swept Tulane a couple weeks ago, last week or whatever, and then LSU went and swept the Raging Cajuns. I'll tell you the good parts and the bad parts about LSU baseball yesterday over in Lafayette. And TK's on a heater, so for you folks that want to make a couple bucks, follow Tommy Christ and Meat and Potatoes USA this week as he's been on fire a little bit recently. All right, TK, let's bring you in Saturday. Saturday, the Tigers, 11 a.m. kickoff. Everybody thought this was going to potentially be a trap game. Historically, in college football, not just LSU, but historically anywhere in college football, whenever you come off of a giant win where they storm the field, that next week it's a letdown. Is it as simple as that for LSU in your opinion?
I think the word letdown fits. Trap game, I don't know. Now, Derek Beckwith said a couple of weeks ago on Sports Shorts Radio that, the road team and them 11 o'clock games, he said it's tough, and he's been there, done that. He said it's tough to get going. Then you throw in in Fayetteville, you throw in the weather situation, the frost on the field in the morning, and, the sun was out. That was a little bit of something good, but, it's, hey, they found a way to win. That's all you can say. Yeah, they didn't cover. But they found a way to win a conference game on the road against a team that had a winning record coming in, albeit, 5-4, whatever it was. So, it was the Harold Perkins show. Josh Williams, these two guys, put the team on their back and helped them find a way to win. And, it's always been tough with Arkansas. That goes back for a couple of decades, ever since Arkansas joined the SEC. We've seen these unbelievably close games, the triple overtime that one year. But hey, Daniels had his worst game as an LSU Tiger, but the team won. You got to keep falling back to that. It's all about winning. There's no pictures on the scorecard kind of thing. They got the W, and then of course Ole Miss gets it done. Doesn't get it done against Bama, and now you're headed to Atlanta. They'll be 16, 17-point underdogs to Georgia, but they're going to the SEC championship game, regardless of what happens this week with UAB or the following week against that dumpster fire known as Texas A&M.
We'll get to A&M in a minute because, man, is that an unbelievable story. But look, after watching the LSU win over Arkansas, and I think Joel Davis made this point on Saturday on Sports Shorts Radio. And often Joel doesn't make good points, but he made a good one on this one. And that was, LSU is 2 years ahead of schedule on where you had hoped they would be under Brian Kelly. You had hoped that, I had no doubt that Brian Kelly would do a good job at LSU. Too much talent. They're too easy of a school to recruit to. But we had him a year or two away before really things are clicking and they end up in Atlanta. I mean, this is a team that, they were obviously plus 5,000 just to win the West, which is unbelievable considering 2019 they won they won the championship with the greatest team arguably in the history of college football. That was just 2019, and LSU's fallen all the way so far to where they were plus 5,000 just to simply win their division, which they probably will never be plus 5,000 ever again while Brian Kelly's the coach at LSU.
And I have a question. This is last year they finished last in the West, dead last, and now they've won it. Has that ever happened? I'd have to do
worst to first.
Worst to first in the SEC West or in the SEC East.
Yeah.
I know that's never happened because Vanderbilt's never won the East. So I'm just trying to think off the top of my head here. I don't think it's ever happened in the West.
So I'll have to dig. I'll have to send a little text over to my buddy inside athletic department and see if maybe they can look that up, because it's a great point, Tommy. I don't know. I know Mississippi State's been to the one in Atlanta. Made it to Atlanta before. Maybe they were last the year before. I have to look at that. But the point is that this was an amazing job by Brian Kelly and LSU to turn things around. To think where they were at in that first half against Florida State. That was as bad a football as you could possibly play, and yet they turned their season around, got dominated at home by Tennessee. We've never seen Blaine Brett, whatever Besh.
Jack Besh.
Jack Besh, thank you. We've never seen Jack Besh since. Like, is he still on the team? Is he in school? Like, what happened to him? Like, he dropped that fumble and, yet to be seen again. So it's – To see where they were at earlier in the year to where they are now is stunning. It's absolutely stunning. Now, they did have a step back game against Arkansas. That was not a very good defense that just absolutely dominated LSU. I thought, you could question some of the play calling, but for the most part, the offensive line was super shaky against the pass. Had problems, with false start penalties and things like that to kill some drives. But yet, for example, in the third quarter, towards the end of the third quarter, Tommy, Williams busts out that 40-yard run or whatever, big, long run right up the middle. Bam, they get down, close to field goal territory. And the next three plays were pass plays. We just gashed them up the middle for 40-plus yards. Let's keep it on the ground. Let's just keep running it. And all of a sudden they went pass, and then they ended up having to punt the football. So there was some questionable play calling, but for the most part, the offensive line just wasn't very good, particularly in pass blocking. And it was just maybe one of those games, man. It wasn't that cold. It was an 11 a.m. kickoff, and I would say by game time temps, I don't know if the TV brought it up, but maybe in the 30s, but it wasn't Louisiana cold. It was 30s, sunny. If you had on, any kind of layer, you were comfortable, especially if you're running around. It was maybe 30s and sunny, but it felt like it was probably upper 40s and sunny in Baton Rouge because of a little bit of a drier, less humidity up there. So I don't even know that I can count that as an excuse. Maybe the clock was a little bit of an issue. Maybe the fact that when they found out that Jefferson wasn't playing quarterback or whatever, maybe it was a little bit of, we got this. We're going to kill these guys. But at the same time, LSU took a step back, but they won the game. They got that horrible trophy brought back to Baton Rouge. Oh. And then now they've got a chance. They're going to be able to sneak up on Georgia. Nobody's going to give LSU a chance. They got a chance to play a team against UAB, take care of business. Why are they only a 14.5-point favorite? That's tricky. And then they're going to go play A&M, who has no chance at a winning record. They're officially not going to a bowl. They're officially going to have a losing record. That's going to be a horrible environment over there. Nobody's going to care. And you got a chance to go over there and just kind of take care of business and roll into Atlanta, probably a 16, 17-point underdog.
Yeah, that's all true. I agree with everything you said right there, going forward with all the little nuggets you threw out. So, we'll have to see. You got to take care of business. I think, if you want to say that was a letdown game, then this is going to be a bounce-back game. You got to take care of business against UAB and really put it on them. I was shocked when I saw 14.5. UAB is 5-5. They did beat North Texas last week. They're in Conference USA, which is not a bad conference. It ain't great, but it's not bad. But and of course, in the UAB, they beat Nick Saban in his first year at LSU. That doesn't matter today. None of the kids were born now, but so anyway, I was surprised it was 14 and a half. So LSU has to bounce back, really take care of business, hang 40 plus on the board. Defense has got to show up and keep them at 10 or 13.
Chance pointing out about the Arkansas game. Barry Odom is a great DC. He did a great job scheming our offense. I will definitely say that. I thought, obviously Arkansas and Barry Odom did a great job, but I just felt like LSU offensively, it was like the big boys up front just weren't there. I was there at the game with Brandon Holly, the owner of Relief Windows. Brandon played center in college in Tennessee, a Division II school, and we pointed that out early. He just looked like he's like, man, they just don't look motivated. They don't look in sync. They were clunky the whole time. I think at the end of the day, that was the deal. Byron Painter points out, love the meme that showed Perkins Road renamed Harold Perkins Road in Baton Rouge. It might be if he keeps playing the way he is. The nickname Percules instead of Hercules is very fitting. Love that as well. Look, this was the coming out party nationally for Harold Perkins. He got a lot of love when Lane Kiffin said, we had a chance until 40 got into the game. And that's when people really took notice. Like, wait a minute, when the other team is saying it's over once 40 started doing his thing, that's when you knew how special he was. But now everyone in the country, 8 tackles, 4 sacks, is completely done. Should have had 5 sacks. I thought with 4 minutes to go that he got the 5th sack, a strip fumble. They called it his hand moving forward. It was shaky. I was surprised they overturned that call because they called it a fumble on the field. So usually when it's a fumble on the field, it's got to be clear and obvious to overturn it. I didn't think it was clear and obvious to overturn it, but they did, and that cost you and I this point spread time because they were already in field goal range. That cost us the point spread, plus it cost Harold Perkins another sack.
Well, there was a great article in The Advocate. I'm sorry, I don't remember who wrote it, about Harold Perkins, all about his high school stuff and some of his ex-teammates. And his high school coach said, look, dude probably kicked field goals. I mean, he said that's the incredible athlete that Harold Perkins is. And, of course, when Lane Kiffin made his comment, it kind of got everybody's attention. We knew Harold Perkins was very good, very explosive, and et cetera. When Kiffin made those comments after the fact that he only played 9 snaps against Tennessee, and when Brian Kelly was asked about that, he kind of, tap danced around it for the reasoning. And then, Kiffin says when 40 came in, there's nobody else like that on the field. Well, guess what? Now here comes the story, Ronnie. What can he do now that he's got the target on his back, as they say? Can he continue to dominate? I think the answer to that's yes, but certainly other teams are going to be coming out of the huddle saying, where's number 40? And then, figuring out when to snap the ball.
I'll give you a little takedown of the Fayetteville situation. First off, great little stadium up in Fayetteville, and well done. It's got a lot of modern suites and some modern parts to the stadium, right close to the field. I mean, those end zone boxes and suites are literally yards away from the end zone. Really like the stadium, and that Walmart and Tyson Chicken have put a ton of money into that campus, into their facilities. If I went to the University of Arkansas, Tommy, I would have been much skinnier. Lots of hills, lots of steps on the campus. If they say, hey, just walk over to the Union and catch a cab, it's you're going up steps and everything to get to the Union. I mean, it's quite hilly. I probably needed to go to a school like that. But anyway, it was a good day. I did like the stadium, and we had a good time. We got in and out of there pretty easily. All right, let's move on to the New Orleans Saints. Go from a happy topic to a sad one. Of course, we're celebrating an SEC West victory. You had a buddy, by the way, who put $100 on LSU back in July to win the West. He won $5,100. He needs to sprint to LeBears and cash that ticket at the Barstool Sportsbook. Congratulations to him. But I will not be cashing the ticket on the Saints over/under wins on the season. I took the over 8.5. Thought I was smart, and now I'm realizing I was a dumbass.
Well, here's the thing, right? I got to eat some crow too. I said before the season started, the Saints on paper are the best team in the NFC South. I thought they'd win the South. I thought it when I said it. Obviously, I was wrong. Then I read an interesting article, late last night, and I fell into the trap, if you will. The last couple of weeks, I kept saying, but they're only a game out of first. They're only a game out of first. That was masking the fact that this is a horrible football team. They got injuries, but every team has injuries. The quarterback situation is a mess, total mess, okay? And Dennis Allen was asked about that after the game, and that wasn't the time for him to talk about it. He may talk about it tomorrow or Wednesday, next time he meets with the media. But the Saints, down 10-0, tied up 10-10, you're like, hey, maybe they can play the second half. Then they just don't do anything. And if you look at the stats of the game, I mean, like the time of possession, everything, you would think the Steelers won by 50. I mean, they totally dominated this football game from start to finish. And, Andy Dalton is showing that he's a backup quarterback. He can't be the guy. I would think they turn to Jameis Winston when they host the Rams. And I'm still don't know how the heck they're a 3-point favorite against the Rams at noon in the Dome Sunday. Saints are 3-7, Rams are 3-6. Saints are a 3-point favorite over and under 39. So you talk about them expecting a bad football game between two bad teams, which is what we had yesterday. The Steelers are terrible. The Saints are terrible, and they showed it yesterday.
Dennis Allen sort of, I think, hinted, Tommy, to that change. They asked him about, are you going to make a move at quarterback? And he's like, hey, this isn't the time or place really to talk about it, later in the week. I mean, if they weren't going to make a change, he'd say no.
He just said Andy Dalton's our guy.
Yeah,
you're right.
So I definitely think that it's going to happen. I think it should happen, and I thought it should have happened originally. Not that it would have probably changed a whole lot, the winning and losing, but I go back to what I've said numerous times earlier this year. You gave Jameis Winston the money. You gave him the money for a 2-year deal. You thought he was your guy. Let's find out. I mean, I don't know that Jameis Winston, we still know. I know we're down on him, but he's been hurt. Last year, he was hurt when he was doing good. This year, he got hurt when he was doing bad. And the sample size just isn't big enough. Let's see if Jameis Winston is the guy. And so I hope they put him in, and regardless of how good or bad he is, at this point, it doesn't matter. Let him finish the year to where you got a bigger sample size to realize if you want to believe in him for next year. Problem is that you don't have a lot of money because of salary cap. You don't have a first-round pick. So you probably almost have to believe in him for next year.
Well, you got 7 games left. They got to be Jameis Winston's games. And you're right. You got to see if that's the guy that you want quarterbacking next season. And a 7-game would be a big enough sample size for you to make that determination. That's what I think you got to do. And then, go from there. But Saints fans are not real happy.
What about yesterday? Because I watched a little bit of the Saints game. I've recorded it. I'm going to watch more before this week's up. But I was at the LSU UL baseball game. Couldn't get the TV to work in the suite I was in to watch it. Did the Andy Dalton play in the game against Pittsburgh? How much of that 10-point, how much of the loss was on him, in your opinion? If it's another quarterback, do the Saints have a chance to win that game?
I think, yeah, because I don't think the defense is scared of Andy Dalton. You know what I'm saying? If you play the Bills, you're worried about Josh Allen. You play the Chiefs, you're worried about Mahomes. I don't think the Steeler defense, which is nothing to write home about, was all that concerned that Dalton could, really pound them and really take them to behind the woodshed. I think they just played their game, and Dalton can't move. The arm, he's not very accurate as he once was. I mean, so I don't think he's a threat to the defense. Winston, probably more of a threat than Dalton, but I think, like we said, you got to throw Winston out there and say, hey, Jameis, this is I don't care if you throw 2 interceptions the first 2 passes, like Virginia did. You see that, Ronnie? Virginia was down 6. The first 16 seconds of the game, they threw 2 pick sixes. Okay, I mean they didn't run a play; they were up 14-0.
I think the last time I saw that was when you and I were doing Southeastern football, Hal Mummy's first year when they brought it back. They had some games where it's pretty much like that.
Yeah. So
I'll say that. Speaking of the Buffalo Bills, you mentioned it earlier. Buffalo, Minnesota might have been the most exciting last 2 minutes of football we've seen in a long time. The Vikings are living this crazy charmed life this year 8-1. I mean, it's unbelievable. I'm not buying the Minnesota Vikings as being an 8-1 team, right? Like, I mean, like, I'm happy for them that they're having a good year because of Jefferson. If it wasn't for Jefferson, I wouldn't give a crap about the Minnesota Vikings. Obviously, they beat the Saints when I was in London, in horrific fashion. But the bottom line is that the Vikings just, you look up and they just keep winning. They've won in unbelievable fashion and crazy endings. They've had so many close games, but Justin Jefferson was spectacular. Had one of the greatest catches you'll ever see. Might even be better than the OBJ catch for the Giants when he went up one-handed. You need to Google it and look online. Unbelievable catch. And then Buffalo is poised to go to to kick the field goal to at least tie it at minimum in overtime, and instead or win it. Instead, a horrible throw by an MVP candidate at quarterback, and the Vikings win on the road in Buffalo. Incredible.
One thing you got to like about the Vikings, Ronnie, and this was all over social media, Patrick Peterson, he's wearing his LSU cleats because they kind of match with the purple and gold. There was a great picture of him planting his foot, and you got the little LSU logo on the tongue of the white cleat with the purple and gold on it. So there's another reason to like the Vikings.
Speaking of Jefferson, how about his day? 10 catches, 193 yards, and a touchdown. I mean, the dude it's just such I know we're like a broken record talking about his story. He's only 23 years old, Tommy. This is a guy who literally was going to go play in Hammond at Southeastern, and on game day, on signing day, ends up with an LSU offer at the last minute when they had a player, change their mind. And then he comes to LSU and ends up being probably a top. I would put Wendell Davis, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson as the top 3 receivers of all time at LSU. As far as for a career in college. I know Josh Reed had the 1 year under Rohan Davey that was spectacular.
Dwayne Bowe, Eddie Kennison.
Yeah, I mean, all these great receivers, great NFL receivers. But as far as just stupid, crazy numbers, I would put Justin Jefferson arguably in the top 3.
Reed won the Biletnikoff Award, didn't he? I mean, he was the top receiver in the country. That 1 year, you said it was 1 year. Wasn't over his career.
Who's that?
Justin Reed won the Biletnikoff Award.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, he had that unbelievable 1 year. It's always a tough argument to say. Like, for example, LSU baseball is the perfect example. The best 2 players for a single season were both junior college transfers that played 1 year at LSU. 1992, Lloyd Peaver went 14-0 with a 1.99 ERA on the mound. And then in Brandon Larson in 1997 hit 40 homers and was unbelievable at shortstop. But they only played for 1 year. So do you put them in the same conversation as a Todd Walker or a Rush Johnson or
Furness,
or Eddie Furness or something like that, or a Jason Williams? I'm talking about shortstop more particularly, or like pitching an Aaron Nola or a Ben McDonald. When you say greatest pitcher at LSU, you almost have to say for career, and a career probably 3 or more years, and then you have to say for a single season. Well, you can't be any better than what Lloyd Peaver was. So that's what I'm talking about with Justin Jefferson. Josh Reed he was the Brandon Larson, he was the Lloyd Peaver of wide receivers. He came out of nowhere, bam. Rohan Davey and him had magic for a year, and the rest is history. But for Justin Jefferson, he was spectacular for a couple of years, and then just had a stupid, crazy year. He and Jamar Chase had crazy year at the same time. Yeah.
Well, I like the way you split that up. You got to say career or say the 1 year sensation. I like the way you split that up.
Yeah. All right. So LSU finds themselves a 14.5-point favorite against UAB. Is that line going to go up or down?
I think it goes up. 53.5. You're over under there. Kicked Saturday night, 8:00. Again, UAB's 5-5 in the middle of the pack of Conference USA. LSU should roll. I'm almost wanting to lock a bet in today. It's not going to go up more than. You're
going to get a chance to see Howard play a bunch, I would think. One, to get him some experience, and then Walker Howard we're talking about, and then also 2 to kind of protect your quarterback to make sure nothing happens for him prior to the SEC championship game. So look for Walker Howard to have maybe play a whole half or something.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
What's that?
I think that would be a good idea.
Yeah. All right, TK, we'll be back on Wednesday. Tell us about Court Street Cafe before we get out of here.
Court Street Cafe right here in Port Allen. Connect on Facebook or Instagram. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, steak night on Saturday night's been very popular. And we got some, the bar room. You want to get a drink on the way home, a little holiday drink. Court Street Cafe, Jason and the staff do a great job. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, 6 days a week. Sunday is just a brunch thing, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Connect on Facebook and Instagram. All the food's good here. I've had breakfast, I've had lunch, I've had dinner. Court Street Cafe in Port Allen, just a couple of minutes over the Mississippi River Bridge. Plenty of parking, patio out front. A little cold for that right now, but you'll really like this place. You need to stop by.
All right, so we got homework, Tommy. You and I on Wednesday are going to come up with our top 5 LSU wide receivers of all time. Okay.
Top 5 of all time.
And this is just based on college, not what they did after college.
Okay, but you put Andy Hamilton in there?
Absolutely.
He was unbelievable back when you didn't have guys doing that.
You got to make your argument for that. Well, why
Eric
this guy
Martin
over that guy? I got to have a reason. But I'm going to do my rankings. I'm going to rank them 1 through 5. Tommy will do his 1 through 5. We'll talk about that on Wednesday. All-time wide receivers at LSU based on what they're, college
career,
college.
not 1 year sensation.
That's right.
All right. Well, I know we're both going to have Wendell Davis on there. Of course, he had Tommy Hodson throwing in the ball and Mickey Gidry. So, but anyway, that'd be fun. We'll do that Friday on Wednesday, Sports Shorts Daily, and we appreciate all the comments today, Chance and Byron and folks. So maybe some of them could put some stuff together today.
All right, we're back on Wednesday morning. Until then, have a great one. Thanks for watching Sports Shorts Daily, presented by LeBear's Casino. Have a good one, everyone.
1 second, Ronnie. Here we go. To thank everybody for the comments. There we go. All right, appreciate it. See you Wednesday morning. Y'all have a great day.